I've always thought that it would be really good as an actress to be able to play a truly good, unlikable woman.
Ooh.
To have that freedom.
Okay, like who do you have in mind?
Well, I think of, for example, Claire Underwood in House of Cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have someone in mind?
Well, I'm thinking of characters who are so confident that they're almost off-putting.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because we're not used to seeing them.
So it always becomes admirable.
Yeah, so it's admirable. So it's an aspirational character, but I gotta say Gina in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the character played by Chelsea Peretti.
The 100 emoji in human form.
Yes.
Kia ora, hello, and welcome to this episode of Play Notes Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Duncan.
And I'm also your host, Alison Horsley.
And we're both dramaturgs, meaning we read a lot of plays.
We've likely read the plays you feel you should have, but didn't.
And that's where Play Notes comes in. And today, we're not just talking about the final of our 3 monologues, but also our final for season 1.
Yeah.
We are talking about
Fleabag
by Phoebe Waller-Bridge,
yes.
which is another phenomenal monologue.
Yes.
And carries on quite nicely from what we talked about last time, which was the vagina monologues, and you should definitely go back and listen to that one.
Of course.
And the one before, End of the Golden
course.
Weather, if you haven't already.
Yes, yeah. So with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, we've got our youngest Playwrights, which is
precocious.
Very precocious. She's born in 1985.
Oh, stop it.
I know, right? Like, I remember 1985. Anyway, so this started out as a monologue. It was a 10-minute character sketch, and then it evolved over time, and it ended up, she took it to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where so many plays see the light of day. and then launch.
Some don't.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Some just, yeah. That'd be the very
the
last ray of sunshine they ever saw, if they were lucky.
Yeah. But so this is a new ass play. Yes. So this hit in 2013 at Edinburgh Fringe, and
there's similarities with this work with End of the Golden Weather in terms of, we were talking about works being produced for pragmatic or practical means. The writer performer creates this part for themselves to perform.
Yeah, and in the case of all 3 of these monologues, that's been the case, and that's certainly the case with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So she's a trained actor. She had gone to RADA.
Yes.
So yeah, she's creating a character.
It was almost exactly a year ago we saw the National Theatre Live production of this.
Yeah.
And it, again, a bit like the other 2 monologues, it can be performed very simply. She just sat in a chair.
Yeah.
Sometimes she got out of the chair a little bit. And there was some recorded voiceover of the characters. But really, it was just her talking to an audience.
Yep. So super, super slimmed down. And now there's also a TV series of
Which
it.
I haven't seen, but you have.
Yeah. It's a little bit more involved, but she still retains a lot of the characteristics, I think, of the stage show. Like, so basically, instead of playing, to the audience, she's playing to the camera.
Okay.
Yeah. So it feels quite similar.
Okay.
To me. So it's not a total transformation of the story or anything like that.
So Alison, what's the gist of the story?
So we start the story. She's at an interview for a job, and she starts.
This is a woman in her 20s, we assume.
Yeah, woman in her 20s.
We never learn her name.
Yeah. Basically, we should just assume her name is Fleabag, pretty much. So she's interviewing for a job with a man who's had some issues of sexual harassment or inappropriateness in the workplace. So right off the bat, we kind of get these taboos out there. We know that we're talking about current
society.
society.
Back to the taboos.
Yeah, exactly. Vagina, just because we can.
Yeah.
So there's this interview, and she kind of starts talking and talking about her life, I guess. And we learn in the course of it, and this is going to be big fat spoiler alert. Big, flat and fat and flat. All of the above spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
Boom. We learn that she's recovering from the death of her best friend Boo, with whom she ran a guinea pig themed cafe, and this is in London. So she owns this cafe, and she works in it. She's the sole person there. And
it's not doing great business.
It's not doing great business.
The job interview.
Yeah, particularly since Boo died, because everybody knows of it, you know, as like the death cafe, basically, because Boo had died. So, and it became a guinea pig themed cafe after Fleabag, had given Boo a gift of a guinea pig, basically. So, and the guinea pig's name is Hillary. Yes. Again, spoiler, Hillary. Anyway, so it becomes a guinea pig themed cafe. And so
they have their regulars.
And they have their regulars, and we learn in the course of it, we learn a few things. We learn that Fleabag tends to turn a lot to sex. She's physically, I don't know, a little bit insecure, but also occasionally confident. You know, she's dating a lot. She also has a boyfriend on and off. She's got some family issues.
Her mother has died.
Her mother's died.
She had a thorny relationship with her sister.
Yeah, and also problematic relationship with her dad a bit too, and stepmother.
And this is a good place to talk about, you know, constructing a character with whom the audience will have empathy. But they're on the face of it not necessarily likable.
Yeah, and I think Fleabag, she manages to evoke our empathy by, at least to my mind, by showing us a character who is clearly seeking comfort and pleasure from something that she keeps not getting. Like, she's getting it momentarily, but clearly she keeps searching.
And she keeps falling to the self-destruction.
Yeah, and it's all self-destructive and also kind of intentionally destructive to other people or intentionally pushing them away.
Yes, and I think something else I found really handled quite well in the script is that Phoebe Waller-Bridge gets the balance between, on one hand, there is this character who seems brutally honest, who's prepared to, you know, just burn down every taboo. But you also, as audience, go, are they actually being truly honest with me? And that's something that had me really invested in the piece.
Yeah.
There are these little flags, I don't know what they are, but I'm like, there's something else going on here and we need to mind that.
Yeah, so she's very honest about the little things, and then we discover by the end that she's been a bit withholding about some of the big things.
Yes.
And that big thing, spoiler alert, being the fact that she had slept with Boo's boyfriend or partner, and that is why Boo suicided. And so she's actually responsible for Boo's death. And in the course of the other spoiler with all of this is, in the course of the play, Fleabag is having a liaison in the cafe with a man who injures. She met
on the tube.
Yeah,
in London.
Yeah, who's described as kind of rodent-like, right? Isn't he the rodent guy?
Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, so he gets scared by the guinea pig, not realizing quite what it is.
Yep.
And
in the half light.
Yeah, in the half light, and injures the guinea pig, and then over time, and then some time passes, and finally, the character Fleabag basically euthanizes the guinea pig by crushing it to death. So, spoiler alert, sorry, she crushes a guinea pig to death. On
Are we
stage.
selling it, Alison?
It's a lovely, moving, coming of age, but it's heartbreaking because it's so funny, and you know why she's doing it, and by killing the guinea pig, she's like torturing herself, or it just
one of the last connections to
it's the last connection to Boo that she's destroying, but in a not even generous, but humane, wanting to be good kind of way. You guys can't see how much I'm trying to gesture with my left hand.
You don't see how I'm screwing my face up.
There's so much gesturing, but no, it's like she's trying to do the right thing, but it's just.
And this
horrible.
is what good drama does. It expresses these things.
It does a lot better than me. But that was in reading the play. I gotta admit, I was almost more horrified by the guinea pig's death than I was the fact that she had slept with Boo's partner.
Okay.
But you saw that coming, right?
Yeah, I at least had a...
Not the
the first time when she told us about Boo's death.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think you're giving us the full story here.
See, you've got that playwright brain.
Possibly.
Like, I knew that something was going on, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
But I think you had more of an intuition of the causality.
Right. But it was handled really well.
Yeah.
You know when you're watching some clunking, awful thing, on TV or what have you, and you go, oh, that was so bloody obvious. You just could see everything happening a mile away.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's handled in such a way that you become more invested.
Yes, you want to lean in.
Yes.
Even though she is an off-putting character in some ways.
Yeah. But you want to go along for that ride.
Yeah, yeah, you're along for the ride by the time it's happening.
Yeah.
And then by the end, I would say we're still in it with her. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's still a kind of likable character, even though,
You kind of hope things will work out for her.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, because now she's been fully honest. Like, I think she's shown all of her cards by the end of the play.
And that's the difference, I think, between empathizing with a character as opposed to having to like them or even worse, pitying them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk about with this script, because it's quite different in how it reads than the other two monologues, and that it does read a lot more like a contemporary stage script.
Yeah, okay. And how do you mean?
Well, there's a few terms that we haven't really referred to before, and they're much more apparent in the script of Fleabag. For example, beats and pauses, which, you might think of, some people might just think, oh, aren't they just sort of silences?
Or are they the same thing?
Are they the same thing?
Yeah.
Or, a beat, one is shorter than a pause. They're all a form of an action of a sort, whether it's a change in thought or something physically.
Yeah, and that's a
key
thing.
Direction. Yeah. That
they're all an action as opposed to just a silence.
Yes. And you were asking me earlier, when I'm redrafting scripts, one thing I'm doing is, those beats and pauses play into the rhythm and the tension and the energy of a script. They're intrinsic to the work.
Yeah.
And you see them a lot more in contemporary plays. Harold Pinter was sort of considered the master of the pause, and there's lots you could go into about that. But often you see more in contemporary scripts, they'll have at the start almost like a table or a key as to, the different symbols that indicate different pauses and overlaps, like whether it's a forward slash or an ellipsis and such like. And Fleabag has them, and that's right, you are, because I'm going all around, you were asking me, like, when do you put them in? Is it like when you get to draft 7, you say, right, now I'm going to slot in my beats and pauses and silences? But I see it as something you hone as you go through.
Yeah, as you're listening to the music, or as you're kind of creating the rhythm of the piece.
Yeah, and sometimes on draft 4, you might go, no, I don't actually need that silence there, that's too much. I need to tighten that up. Or actually, I do need more to happen here, in terms of giving it space. So space or silence is not empty in a script. There is always something going on. And this is where, we think about subtext, what is not specifically said as well, but what is actually happening under the words.
Which is amazing in a play like this, because it's a one-person show, so it's not even the tension between two characters. In this case, maybe it's the tension between the character and the audience. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's that push and pull of what do I tell and what do I hide.
Yeah.
And that takes us back to dramatic irony.
Yes, that's what we do, dramatic irony. And that moment I said, early on, where she first tells the story of her friend Boo dying, and that's where a red flag popped up for me, thinking, hello, there's more to this.
Yeah.
I think I know you're more implicated in this than you're letting on. I don't know how yet.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, in a way that is almost a form of dramatic irony. There's this play with the character on stage, like thinking, I know something that you don't, or you want to believe that I don't at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why is this... So in addition to her being a not classically unlikable character, but a character who's not like, she's not trying to get us to love her. She's not after being America's sweetheart or England's sweetheart or whatever, whoever's sweetheart. But why is this an awesome play?
I think, like, again, there's the unapologetic element to it. The messiness of true human nature.
Mm-hmm.
That play with empathy, the humour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking hilarious in places.
Yeah. Well, because she's so honest. She's more honest. She's the extreme version of any of us in some ways. Or at least I hope that she is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But she's so often you see these bad boy characters, particularly in I don't know, not as recently, but in movies in probably the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, these kind of like bad boy womanizing kind of like smooth characters. And finally you see a woman on stage who is doing that, right? She's like sleeping with different people.
She can be self-deprecating.
Yeah.
It's not just all a strut.
Right, yeah.
It's like, watch me fall on my face as well.
Yeah, and one thing that you had joked about is if it's a play for the Sex and the City generation, which
I think I said that about vagina monologues.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whereas this is
a step past that for sure.
Yeah. We've evolved.
Yeah, but Sex and the City, I think, kind of unlocked the door for this as well, as did the vagina monologues for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on whether people should stay away from the series before they've read the play, or does it matter? Just get in there and enjoy it.
I don't know. Because my experience with the play was reading it and then seeing the National Theatre Live version and then seeing the TV version. So that's kind of the way that I would recommend experiencing it, because then, for me, once I've seen it, that tends to be the picture that I have in my head of it. So I enjoyed that I was able to read it first and then see her do it, because then I was able to make those connections between what I was imagining in the reading and then seeing what the reality of that original production was. So I think if you had to pick between seeing like the National Theatre Live version or reading it, I would say you can pick one of those and then do the TV series, but I wouldn't say just do the TV series.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about watching her National Theatre Live version of it that feels you're seeing the real thing, right? I mean,
yeah. And I would say, anyone who is interested in writing monologues, this would be a good one to pick up to see what a contemporary monologue can look like on the page.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
It's a good read.
Yeah.
And with that, should we finish with our favourite things from Fleabag?
Oh, yeah.
And mine was, whether you read it or see it, this is so good, the description of her sister wearing lycra.
My favorite thing about the play is her sense of comic timing, in the way that she'll say, and so I wanked. So she, masturbated, and you have a sense that she's alone in the room, and then she says, and then I kissed my boyfriend Harry goodnight and I went to bed. So it's like the revelation of the rest of the picture.
Yeah. It's like zooming out.
Yeah, zooming out, which I love. And I just ruined that joke for you guys, but it's really good.
And it's a good way to end.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this first season of Play Notes Podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Good night.
See us again.
Hare ra.